Michael, I think we're good to go. We have 6 and quorum, and it's 2:30.
Awesome. So I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you want to start us off with a quick roll call.
Crick,
Here.
Cronin,
Here.
Dowling.
Here.
DeVries. Gentry,
Here.
Harding. Laverne,
Here.
Sanford,
Here.
Boyd. Okay,
Great.
of course.
Do we have anyone either in person or online that wishes to make public comment?
There is no one in person, nor has anyone joined online to raise their hand to indicate as such.
Looks like we have then the approval of the minutes, both from the July 8th and the August 5th meetings.
And just for a point of information, I think we thought we were approving the July minutes at the last meeting, but we had a typo on the agenda. So we just want to make it very clear that we were meaning to approve those minutes. So we have reattached it and fixed our typo to make sure the correct minutes were linked. We basically approved June twice on accident. Yeah. Our apologies for that.
Sounds good. If no one has any comments, then I will make a motion to approve the July 8th and the August 5th minutes.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. And do we need a roll call vote for minutes? I can't remember.
Unless you want to do it by consent, if everybody's going to raise their hand in the affirmative. Another one has a picture. We can't see everybody.
Yeah,
so
we can just do a roll call. It's fine.
Okay. Looks like Chad White has also joined us. Crick.
Aye.
Cronin.
Aye.
Dowling.
CC, can you put me down as abstain?
Yes. Gentry.
Aye.
Laverne.
Aye.
Sanford.
Aye.
And Chad, we're just voting on the minutes.
Yes, aye.
Motion passes.
Great. Looking at the agenda today, looks like we have 3 discussion items. The first of which is the 2026 safety target setting.
Yes, thank you. We are in our annual process of safety target setting, and I'm working to share my screen with you in just a second. And the first thing I'm going to want to walk through is the work that we've done to assess. Well, let's start here. So every year we have just open. Give me a second. That's not nice. Okay. Each year we have under federal requirement the work to set 5 federal safety performance measures that are prescriptive in the regulation for how to measure and track, and they're being tracked by MPOs across the country. And as we go through this work, we must set targets for the achieved location of what we anticipate for next year's either rates or injuries or fatalities. And we have the option to either agree to support the state DOT targets that they have established and provided to federal highways, or to establish our own specific targets. We prepared targets for our specific MPO consistent with the historical conversation and expectation that we have had locally to set targets that we can report back by road maintenance owner and other things in our long range plan and in some of the drafts that we put out to set our own targets that we can work to achieve. MPOs are not assessed or penalized for failing to meet their targets. We get asked that question a lot, so that's kind of in here. Traditionally, we have used historical trend data to set projections for future years for future crashes, while at the same time previously saying we recognize the MPO wanted desired safety beyond the improved targets. In 23 and 24, you can see using that methodology, we met only 2 of the 5 targets in that space, even based on those historical trends. However, as of this year in 2025 and for 2026 set target setting, we have adopted in our region and in our local cities a Vision Zero Transportation Safety Action Plan. And so what we're going to look at today in the proposed target is looking at projecting a projection of a linear reduction in crashes to meet Vision Zero by 2050, our target year for those goals. To look in review of where we've been at for the 24 targets that we set, you can see the targets are in the top table for each year. And I put in our proposed 26 targets so you can kind of see how they line up with where we were or what we set for targets in 25. And you can see on the bottom table the actual data that we had from 2024, where we met or were below the target and where we did not meet the target. And then you can kind of compare that above. In some cases, we're pretty close. Within 10% on serious injuries. And, we're looking at in some of those spaces. So that kind of just gives you an idea about where we're looking at for setting targets and looking at reduction. We're going to walk through a little bit now the draft that we put together that's part of our performance report. And based on, we're showing the target we're looking at is for countywide data as a whole. But we report any crashes by roads maintained by, because this is something that this body has asked for before in terms of thinking about road ownership in this crash space. So you can think about what types of network. It kind of informs a little more about who may have responsibility in that space around those crashes. And so we've done that. And so in each measure, we've set those goals in that space. And so you can see our rolling average from 2020 to 2024 is 9 in this space, which is a downward trend from the most recent years. And we're looking at a 2026 target of 6.4. So we have, for rate of fatalities per 100 million VMT, we've seen a reduction. Again, these are the ones that were more on track with meeting in previous years. So we're seeing that downward trend. And we have 6, we are at 92 hundredths, and we're projecting a 26 target of 60 hundredths. For number of serious injuries on all public roads, you can see our overall 5-year trend is kind of starting to climb in an upward trajectory from some lower years that we had where we saw reduced VMT, I think, and some of that impacted crashes. But to meet that Vision Zero, we're looking at a 35 1/8 target. For rate of serious injuries per 100 million VMT, as the injuries are going up, also the VMT is going up in this space. And so we're looking at a target of 3.41, which is just about at our rolling average. And then for the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries on public roads, we're in this kind of linear space with pretty similar, between 5 and 7 in this last, 5-year period, looking at what we were looking at with our target in 25, but we had just 5.4, this rolling average, and we have a 5.8 target in that space. So it's looking at based on the number of crashes that happened in the most recent year period in that linear projection to get down to. So it's like a quarter, it's like a quarter reduction in every fourth year or every year, which takes it down one eventually. But when we look at those projections, we've included the definitions of serious and decapacitating injury and showed kind of where that road maintenance entities are for people who want to see kind of an idea about where those crashes happen. This process basically, as we've called for in our public participation plan, when we set out to do performance safety planning, gives the opportunity for the public to provide us comments and thoughts in that process before we set the official targets, because that is the process to basically then amend and include those into Transportation 2050 as part of our performance report. And so we go through this process, and we're just sharing these with you before we post them for public comment to come back for a future consideration in November. I'd be happy to entertain any conversation that you may want to have about any of the targets or numbers that we looked at.
Anyone have any comments or questions for the MPO staff?
Yes. Is there any correlation, just out of curiosity, between the number of crash increases since K10 East has opened compared to when it was closed? That'd be east of 59.
Yeah, so yes, the challenge in this space often is we're looking at just data as a whole, and I'm not looking at spatial data. So the use of the looking at like where all of these crashes were located, we're just looking at quantifiables and then by road maintenance in these areas. And I know that that is something that showed up on some KDOT statewide safety work that has happened, and we can follow up with additional information, but I don't have that off the top of my head to be able to kind of show you right this minute.
Okay, thank you.
Is that something you'd like me to try to look into, Jessica and Lindley?
If I can't find what I'm looking for, I'll reach out, Ryan, but I think
Okay.
I know what resources in the KDOT Drive to Zero that we can look at, and in the vulnerable road, there's some other things in the vulnerable road user and in our own safety plan that I think will help answer some of Lindley's questions.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. If there's no other questions or comments on this item, then we're probably good to move on to the 2026 transit safety target setting.
Okay, so we work in partnership with Transit. They are underway of writing their transit safety plan. And one of the things we do when we do this annual process of looking at safety targets is looking at the KDOT or the Lawrence Transit targets for safety performance. And they have a number of variables that they report. The top table is the 2024 actual data. And you can see that they have achieved zero and zeroed out many of the instances that they even had previously reported either injuries or safety events on, and have system reliability that has met the miles before failure. So they achieved their targets in that space from the past year. And so we left the system reliability targets at the same level they were in previous years, and zeroed out all of the 26 targets for where we would like to be, seeing as that's where we are now, and we expect to hold to that level of safety and expectation and standard. So this is what we're putting out to share for the 2026 transit safety performance targets. If you have questions about any of the specific things, I can defer to Felice if she has anything else to add in regard to the work that they do in this space.
Anyone have any questions or comments? Cool. Then let's move on to our last agenda item for the day, which is the 2025 Unified Planning Work Program Administrative Revision.
Okay. We are sharing with you, we have updated the UPWP through an administrative revision process. And so we're just sharing this for kind of your consistency in this space. This was the original adopted UPWP budget. And we, based on some new provisions about how we normally in normal years, we would have a 20% match to all of the elements of the UPWP. So the overall program would be a 20% local match. Well, with federal changes in law, it allows complete streets planning activities or work that's under the complete streets header and tasks to be reimbursed at 100%. And so originally we showed this way and then just called out the 80% that would have been here and the 20% that would have been here, which would have made the 100% amount that you see in this line. And to further clarify that, KDOT asked us to show it differently. So there's no change in the overall total budget. There's no change in any budget work task by task number. And there's no change in the anticipated money that we were intending to get either for federal or local sources, but we're just showing it differently where we're showing the complete streets activity instead of only that extra 20%, we're showing it as the 100% amount. And then we took out the part that was originally in the 80% amount and put it in that, made sure it was in the 100% amount. So if you add up all the total numbers, all the totals are still equal, but we're showing here by task what the federal and local portions are. And so we updated this and posted this on the website. And so we wanted to notify you of this change to be transparent in our work and consistent that it never changed any intention about what was to happen in this space. It was just a requirement to change how it's shown, I think for probably KDOT accounting. So we're just giving that to you for your information. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions for Jessica? All right, well, thank you. Looks like we have 2 quick updates to end the meeting.
Yes, thank you. We just wanted to let you know that our 2026 Unified Planning Work Program is out for public comment through October 27th. And we'll be back for your consideration. We'll bring any comments we receive back to you and have a conversation in our November meeting. And also, we currently are in the Lawrence Bike Plan update process, and that survey is open through October 20th, and it's linked. So in either of those spaces, I'd be happy to entertain questions and invite you to share those with interested parties that you may work with.
All right, so looks like that's all we have for the day, and our next meeting is currently set for November 4th, 2025.
Yes, we plan to have a full agenda in November, and then that hopefully will wrap everything up for the year. So thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody.